So at the start of the year, my very first video on the channel was kind of a bit of an update video talking about some plans and some thoughts moving forward. And one of those things was getting the keys to this space right here, this brand new studio space. And if you watch that video, you'll remember that it was basically empty. There was some like old office furniture and desks, but I talked about some plans and you know, some things that I wanted to do in this space. And one of those things was building out a dedicated darkroom with my studio partner, Richard, and he took that on. 100% of the credit goes to him. But we've basically been in here working away as much as possible to be able to move in and start using these spaces. And I would say, you know, the darkroom and this main area, neither are finished, but they're maybe 80% of the way there, where we can kind of get in and at least, for me, start editing and filming, and then obviously getting in the darkroom and doing some printing. So just the other day, I jumped in the darkroom for the very first time, which was honestly just so much fun and really exciting to have this dedicated space right there that's always accessible. So wanted to make this video today to give you a bit of a tour, share how the darkroom's coming along, and then also share this day of printing with you, because for me this is very much a continuation of a video I did late last year on the channel, where I started darkroom printing again for the first time in 20 years. And for me, you know, I'm a complete beginner again. There's so much I have to learn. So it's really just been about, getting in there and trying new things. So just the other day specifically, I made a 35mm contact sheet for the very first time. I made some 4x5 contact prints for the first time, and then I made a 35mm print. And there were definitely some things I learned and want to share that with you as well. So I'll give you a tour, then I'll share the day of printing, then we'll jump back out here after and I'll kind of share the results in a little more detail and talk about my kind of takeaways from that day. Okay. So this is the space here, and I'll run you through everything. But if you watch that first video, I shared that this is actually where you enter the studio. So in a perfect world, this room would be on the other side, but obviously it's not. And honestly, so far, it actually has been less of a hassle than I thought. There's been a couple situations where Richard has been printing in here and I've been editing in that area, and it's just worked out fine. So in the future, we might build kind of a partition wall that runs across, but I think for now we're just going to roll with it as is. But I'll show you the specifics here. So this side is the enlarger side. A couple things missing, but basically we have the LPL 7700. That was the enlarger that I used in the first video I did. And then right now we're shopping for a Devere, which is going to go beside it. So we'll have two enlargers in here. And then in the back corner, it's not here right now, but we have this old Durst RCP20 automatic print processor, which can do 8x10 prints. And Richard just actually took that and went to modify it to be able to do color. So he'll bring that back tomorrow. And then hopefully we should have an automated color print processor, which is really, really exciting to be able to have something like that ready to go. And then this side are the sinks. So we have this kind of pre-made stainless sink we purchased, which is where the processor is going to live. This is a THD CP lift kind of Jobo style processor. And then this sink here is one that Richard went and had made for us as a custom stainless sink. Obviously, this is where all the trays will sit, and then we have the water that runs along the top there, and just this frame that we that Richard built out, and we have to trim it out and stuff, but that's where that is. And then we have just blackout curtain on the window and same on the doors. And that's been just an easy way to get it light tight in here. So yeah, like I said, probably another day or two. You know, we really got to both get in this space at the same time and just find permanent places for things, put in another light, obviously get the other enlarger here and just do some refinements. But yeah, it's come a long way. Richard did a really good job, and we're able to use it, which is exciting, obviously, to have this accessible permanent space. So looking forward to really doing a lot of printing in the future, and yeah, like I said, learning as much as possible. So right now though, we'll jump back a couple days, share that day of printing with you, and then we'll jump out into the main space and dive into the results. Okay, so I got the place blacked out. I'm gonna start with 35mm contact sheet. So I have some T-Max 400. This is from years ago, actually. This is through an Olympus XA, and I know there's a couple images on here that I'd be very curious to see. printed. So gonna start with this one, and I actually only have 8x10 paper. So already, like I said, I've never made a contact sheet before, but by judging, by the looks of this, I'm assuming I probably need 11x14. But we're gonna give it a go anyway. So I have my film. I'm gonna leave this here in the print file sheet. Have a sheet of glass here. I don't have an actual like contact sheet holder, one of the ones you can buy. So I'm gonna do this, obviously paper underneath, put the glass on top, do an exposure test, and then go from there. Okay, lights out. But I got my negatives, got the paper underneath. I'm gonna lay our glass sheet on top. And we're gonna do intervals of 2 seconds for our exposure test. About 10 seconds left, and honestly, this is black and white developing, seeing the image come up. Nothing quite like it. Okay, so this one needs to dry, but even just looking at it right now, I mean, it's a contact sheet, so it's cool to make one even though it doesn't fit on the paper. But even just looking at these exposures, you can see that the longest one is what looks probably right. So that was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I might even go 11 seconds, just a little bit longer, 11 or 12, and then we'll pick an image from there. The one I think I want is actually cut off. So we'll make one more contact sheet, 11, 12 seconds, and we'll make a print. Okay, so that second one done. So I think I am going to print 2 images, but while I have this set up, before I start printing with the actual negative carrier and adjusting the enlarger, I think I'm gonna grab one of my 4x5 negatives and do a quick contact print, because obviously it's a very similar idea. So yeah, we'll do that, then we'll pick our images. So we'll jump back into the darkroom in a second, just have to take a quick break to talk about the sponsor today, which is Squarespace. So I've been using Squarespace for a number of years now, and it's become one of the most important tools for me as a photographer to be able to build, maintain, and update my photography website. And one of the most important things for me that stands out is how easy it is to use while also getting professional looking results. So if that's something like building a website from scratch using one of their professional looking templates, or something like their blueprint builder, or even just adding new galleries, rearranging images, adding an online shop to sell prints, books, other things like that, or even adding a blog to be able to start writing. These are all features that are available at the click of a button. So if you've been wanting to build a website, check out squarespace.com today, sign up for a free trial, test it out, and when you're ready to launch, you can use my link below to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. So just gonna look for an image that we can print first, and I have a portrait I made on 4x5. A friend of mine. That could be fun to do. But with this, obviously the enlarger that I have can only do up to 6x7 max, but you can take, a 4x5 negative, just like we did with the contact sheet, and just lay it directly on a piece of paper and print it with the same idea. So that could be fun, because obviously a 4x5 negative is a decent size, just for a print by itself. So we'll give it a shot. Don't judge my lack of organization. The fact that I have these in negative sheets in a binder is pretty good for me. Come on. Ooh, you know what? Sorry, Bob. Can't find the one of you. Let me do this one right here. Okay. So it gave it a little better look, and ended up finding this image. My friend Bob. So we'll print this. I like this image. This was 4x5 FP4 with the Kamura 152mm 3.5 lens, which I love, wide open. You know what I didn't realize either? The multi-grade paper I have is actually 4x5. It's probably from when I was doing pinhole stuff. So it's, terms of doing a contact sheet, this is going to be perfect. Okay, we'll do 3-second intervals, I think. I can already tell these little contact prints are going to be a favorite. This looks so cool. So it's safe to say that I quickly became addicted to making these little contact prints, and this first image in particular actually ended up being quite difficult, and I made 5 different versions in total, just experimenting with different exposure times and then also doing some dodging. But overall, just very cool to see these small prints come to life. So contact prints are just drying in there. I'll do a review at the end of the video and we'll go through everything, but contact sheet is pretty much good to go. We'll pick an image from here and make one print. But yeah, like I said, T-Max 400 cut off the side, unfortunately, but I'll pull the camera overhead and we'll pick one. But just want to say, you know, obviously making some mistakes today, wrong paper size. You know, I did a couple sheets of the 4x5 paper upside down. And I hope that this just, if anything, encourages some of you who maybe want to try printing or try something new to just go for it. That's very much what I'm doing here. You know, I've done some research, I watched some videos, but so much of this is honestly just like getting prepared and then doing it and then making the mistakes and learning as you go. So anyways, that's my spiel. We'll go over top, I'll show you these. Okay, so we got our contact sheet here, and I am going to do the image, like I said, that's cut off. So see if I can get this centered. So this scene right here, this old Reliant with the sun setting, I have one portrait style right here that we're going to do. And then I might also do this scene here. I think that's possibly an old Ford, but that could be neat as well. But I mean, regardless, fun to finally make a contact sheet, a long time coming, and an amazing way, of course, to be able to see the full roll with 35 or with 120 as well. So I can see myself doing this quite a bit. It's nice. Okay, so this is our negative right here. And what I love about this scene is you had this amazing kind of backlight or side light in the evening that was hitting this silver car and really illuminating it, making it quite bright. And you can see that the sky and the car are kind of the two most dense areas on the negative. So this could be a fun one to play around with, it with everything else quite dark. So I think we'll give it a shot. So just like with the little 4x5 contact prints, I also ended up making a number of different print versions from this 35mm negative, and realized afterwards that there was a couple mistakes I made that gave me some problems, specifically with longer exposure times, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail after. But I ended up making about 6 different prints from this 35mm negative, and you combine that with the contact prints I made, and it led to a pretty full day of printing. And I actually ended up coming in the next day and making a few more 4x5 contact prints just because I enjoyed it so much. And like I said, I wanted to jump out here now that the printing's wrapped up and just dive into each of these kind of specific things in a little more detail, pull the camera overhead and just talk about what worked and what didn't and what I take away. Okay, so to start, I'll just show you these contact sheets very quickly. I already showed this in the video, obviously. If I can actually get this centered, there we go, everything's backwards. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. So yeah, pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to show you this to mention that I did some research afterwards, and apparently 9.5 by 12 paper is the one you want to go for to fit 6 strips of 36. So I'm going to order some of that because like I said, I can see myself doing this quite a bit moving forward. I love being able to see a whole roll of film on a sheet of paper. So that was fun. So next up, we have the first contact print that I did. And like I mentioned in the video, this actually ended up being a little bit more of a difficult scene than I imagined it would be. So these are the 5 different ones I made. The first one was obviously the exposure test that I did. And looking at this, really this kind of second exposure looks great for the face, but still a little bit too bright for the sky, lacking detail and stuff. So the first full image that I made, I went kind of in between the second and the third exposure, and this one actually looks pretty good in terms of brightness for the foreground and the subject, but the sky is completely lacking detail. So I went and increased the time on the enlarger, and the sky looks much better. You can see there's a lot more detail in there, but the whole scene is quite dark. So I went and I got my little dodge tool, and what I did is I decreased the overall time a little bit, and then I also dodged the subject here to try and get it a little brighter, and this is getting there. I didn't do the greatest job, and it's still a little bit too dark. So I did one more here, where I did a little bit of a better job. Let me make sure I have these right. Okay, I have these backwards actually. So this is the one here, the first dodge one, and then this is the one where I did a little bit of a better job. So I actually would say this is pretty close to a final print that I'm happy with, but it's a bit too dark overall still. When I look at it in person, it looks better than it probably does on the camera, but could probably work this just a bit more. But regardless, this was a fun little one to experiment with. And like I said, that led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole to make some more of these. So I did multiple versions. I won't show you those because it might just get a bit too repetitive. But I basically went and picked a few images from my Slate City portfolio. So this was the first one I did, this night scene. Pretty straightforward. Actually quite happy with how this one turned out. And then I went and did a few versions of this, this interior here, just dodging the window. This is obviously very dense part on the negative. And this one's coming along. I mean, that's so bright. I think that was like a 15-second added exposure, kind of dodging, or burning in the window, I should say, not dodging. So this is close, I would say. Still pretty happy with it. And then I made a few versions of this one. This is FP4 in an old Corey. And for this one, I was burning in the sky, a little extra to pull more detail. And then I went up to grade 5 on the enlarger because it was quite flat, the foreground, but I actually really like how this one looked. But yeah, this was a fun one, probably one of my favorites of the bunch. And then the last thing is just to look at this print. So this was interesting. This was the exposure test I did. And as you can see, even the longest exposure, I think this is around 15 seconds, is still really bright. It's not long enough. And what I realized after making these is that I had left the 80mm lens on the enlarger. I didn't even think about switching it out. I was so used to using it with the 6x7 negatives. And I have a 50mm lens, which would allow me to drop the height of the enlarger head, and the source would obviously become stronger. So something to keep in mind for next time. But the first one I did was 25 seconds. And this is still too bright. Like I said, I loved how bright the car was and the sky in the actual image, or how dense they were in the negative, and this overall image is too bright. So I went and did, let me get this in the right order, one here at I think 35 seconds, and this actually looks pretty good, but this was at grade 3, and it's a little bit too contrasty. So I did another at grade 2, same exposure time, and looking at this now, this is definitely my favorite from the bunch. I'm actually pretty happy overall with how this looks. But in the moment, I thought I needed to go darker, so I actually did another one at grade 3 up to a minute. And this is way too dark when I look at this now. Way too dark, way too contrasty. And I also did same exposure time, grade 2, and it looks better in terms of highlight detail, but this is overall too dark. So yeah, the one with the borders, the 35 seconds, that's my favorite. But you can see with a lot of these ones, you know, the image is kind of wonky on the paper. And the mistake I was making here is I was using the universal negative carrier mask to cut the image, rather than using the actual paper easel to cut the image, which is something someone recommended in my previous video. And I kind of just skipped my mind, but that's something to do moving forward, because all of these are, yeah, just a little weird with how they sit on the paper. But yeah, overall, just a ton of fun kind of getting in there for a day and trying some new things. And I could see myself doing a lot of these little contact prints moving forward, especially for, you know, a project, something like Slate City, where I could, you know, take all the selects and make these prints direct from the negative and just have something that I can lay out in front of me as this project goes. So yeah, looking forward to doing more of this in the future, but that's gonna wrap this one up. I just wanna say, as always, thank you for watching, you know, thank you for the support, and I'll see you again soon with another video.